You're listening to the Full Court Press with your host, Drew Duncan. Don't you dare touch that dial. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Full Court Press. I am your host, Drew Duncan. You guys are checking me out live from the K-Sun Studios out here in Wichita, Kansas. You know the rap sheet. I am on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at DrewDuncan83. And don't forget, you can listen to us live all day, every day at ksunradio.org. That's KSUN radio.org. And if you're listening from your mobile device, you can close your phone and it will continue to play. I mean, the website basically works like an app for you. That's what I love the most about it. The NFL ratings are down. Bad. Matter of fact, the Monday night game in which saw the Kansas City Chiefs go undefeated and remain the last 4-0 team in the NFL was actually down 13% from the week prior from the Dallas Cowboys. And actually, the Dallas Cowboys versus the Arizona Cardinals, if I remember correctly, was actually up 16%. The Kansas City Chiefs only enjoyed a 4.3 rating with viewers 18 to 49, which, by the way, it was still the number one show on Monday night. It was Monday Night Football. It was still the number one program. It beat out WWE. It beat out any television show that you could think of. It's the way that it is. Football is still the premier dominant force when it comes to watching television. It's the number one sport in America. It doesn't matter if you think about college or pro. It's the number one sport in America. You guys ever seen Friday Night Lights? When was the last time you've been to a high school game? My goodness. My alma mater for high school, Derby, was packed out on Friday night when they played Bishop Carroll. My goodness. It was insane. And I know that a lot of people are alluding to the boycotts that are going on right now with the NFL. People saying that they're not going to watch anymore because of how they feel about the national anthem, whether your opinion is that the player should stand, whether your opinion is the player should kneel. There's a lot of people believing that the NFL ratings are down, including our POTUS himself, because of this. But, you know, the NFL was facing this problem last season. And I'm going to say that again in case I lost you with some of the other things that I was talking about. The NFL was facing this problem last season. And the ratings didn't start getting up until about November, December, when the Dallas Cowboys played a Thursday night game. And then the next week, the Kansas City Chiefs played the Oakland Raiders in a Thursday night game and helped started to boost the ratings. So what's number one for me? I think it's the teams that are playing each other. Some of these teams have huge national fan bases. The Raiders are one of those teams. The Cowboys are one of those teams. And as much as I hate to say this, let's be honest, I'm from Kansas. Whenever I travel, I don't see a lot of Chiefs stuff anywhere else. I'll see Patriots gear. I'll see Broncos gear. But when I leave out of the state of Kansas and I leave Missouri, I don't see a whole lot of Chiefs stuff anywhere. There are still a lot of people around here that are Rams fans from when they were in St. Louis. So you have that competition, I think, still going on there as well. Kansas City hasn't been the premier team around here for a while, and that's predominantly because they've only won one playoff game in 27 years. Now, their fans that are their diehard loyal fans are diehard loyal fans, and I have talked about it over and over again. That stadium, if that football team is 2-10, will still pack out. But I think it's because in the local market, especially with the Rams leaving, there's not a lot of football left for anybody to go to in terms of pro games. I mean, think about it. Just from Wichita to Dallas alone, if you want to go see the Cowboys play, that's an 8-hour drive. Whereas going to see the Chiefs from Wichita is about a 2.5-hour drive. Where would you rather go see a football game at? Then you have to think about all the people that are fans of other teams around here that when they go to play the Chiefs at Arrowhead, they go and check out a game as well because it's a close drive. It's closer than trying to get to Mile High Stadium or Cowboy Stadium or flying out to New England. I think that plays a part in it too. So part of the ratings jump, I think, has a lot to do with the fanfare. Washington is a football team that hasn't been very good over the last 10, 15 years. Only made the playoffs a couple times, haven't been very successful. You start looking at the Kansas City Chiefs, as I will reiterate, one playoff win in the last 27 seasons. It's just not going to cut the mustard. So on a national scale, did anybody even really care that Kansas City was playing Washington? You know, and I've talked about it before with the Thursday night games. A lot of that has to do with teams you're not really watching. Jacksonville plays San Francisco. Do you care? When Green Bay played Chicago, did you care? Because I think that we all knew that Chicago was not going to be a good football team this year. They've decided, I think, a little too late what they're going to do with their quarterback situation and start Mitch Trubisky. The Green Bay Packers have had a record number of injuries. So how entertaining is it? But then you have to think about it like this, too. Times have changed, and the way that people as adults have to work now is different. You know, you have to think, even 15 years ago, more guys that were loving football were working Monday through Friday jobs, or they would work, you know, like a half day on Saturday or whatever, and then they would still have Sundays with their family. It's not like that anymore. I can't tell you how many warehouse jobs I've had to where they're like, dude, you're going to work 7 days a week around here. You're going to work as much as we tell you to. Hey, I've worked 70 hours this week. Can I go home? No, you can't. I want to be with my family. Too bad. And, you know, you have to think about all the third shift night jobs that are, you know, out there now. You know, I mentioned earlier about watching some of the NBA All-Star game when I was working at Dillard's. And you have to think that even then I only got an hour, which is more than what most people get. I mean, I've worked jobs before where I literally got a 20-minute lunch break. 20-minute lunch break. Granted, I got paid for it, but when you're making $7.25 an hour at the time is what I was making, just give me the extra 10, dude. So you've got to look at it in those terms as well. You know, people talked about the NCAA playoff getting a hit a couple of years ago for the Oklahoma-Clemson game, two of the more popular collegiate Division I football teams right now, and the ratings were way down. Well, when you have that game on a Friday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, people are at work. Then the other thing is this. Fantasy sports. You don't have to watch football anymore to be a part of fantasy sports. Even though their numbers are down, they're still incredible. People are betting and gambling on that stuff like never before, which is technically in most states illegal to do. But because it's via the internet, and the internet is a free worldwide connection for everybody, there's nothing they can do about it. Because you're doing it over the internet. You're doing it from an app on your phone. Whether it's CBS Sports, Fox Sports, Yahoo, DraftKings, everybody has got a fantasy sports app that you could participate in. And you've only got to be 18 years old and have a credit card, and that's it. And the guy who invented fantasy sports through baseball, Daniel Crunt, said, now I know how the guy who invented the atom bomb feels, end quote. Well, why does he feel that way? Because of the way that people have lost their jobs participating in fantasy sports, the way that people have worked nonsense jobs so that way they can focus on their fantasy sports. Think about it like this. Because of fantasy sports now, you don't even necessarily have to watch the game. All you have to do is keep track of all the players that you drafted on your fantasy team and look to see how they're doing. You don't have to keep track of numbers now. You don't have to keep track of schemes. You don't have to keep track of anything. You don't even have to watch. All you have to do is look and say, oh, man, Jared Goff didn't throw any touchdown passes today. Oh, and then there's the internet, speaking of which. I mean, that's killed a lot of things, too. Think about the McGregor-Mayweather fight. How many Facebook accounts got shut down because people were live streaming the fight on Facebook? Showtime was going after them tough. They weren't having any parts of that. How many people know that somebody's going to do something like that, and so they go, come on. I can't tell you how many times I've logged on to Facebook and seen somebody go, hey, is anybody live streaming the Broncos game today? That's not going to affect your ratings when people are illegally streaming things over the internet. Whether you want them to or not, they're going to do it. But you can't tell me that doesn't affect the ratings. That and people don't, again, have to watch the game because they can sit back and wait for the score to come across their Facebook. I think weather could be a small part of it. Right now in Wichita, Kansas, even though it's a little bit rainy today, we've been having 85-degree weather all the way across the board in September and obviously the early part of October here. People are going outside. They're doing things. They're, school's in session. Everybody's still getting their bearings. When it starts getting a little colder, people start staying in and they start watching football more often. But I honestly believe that one of the bigger pieces to the puzzle is Roger Goodell. And I have said all along, and I'm not going to talk about this too much, but I have said all along that his little manhunt for Tom Brady and the whole Deflategate thing was the most ridiculous nonsense that I think I've ever seen in situations that are similar as that. His whole excuse was, we got it wrong with Spygate and we needed to... Well, dude, if you messed up for Spygate, that's your problem. Okay? You don't get to then go and destroy somebody else's career and tarnish everything about their legacy just because you did something else that was wrong. If that was your fault on the investigations on Spygates from the Patriots, the Broncos, or whomever, dude, that's your bad. And you don't get to go back and say, all right, dude, I'm going to get you now. Go look at the facts about Spygate or Deflategate. We're talking barely, what was it, like 0.0013 or whatever the hell it was, that those balls were under league regulations? I guess deflated footballs were the reasons why LeGarrette Blount ran for 140 yards in that football game. And by the way, Tom Brady, better second half than first half when they corrected the issue. How about this? How about the fact that since Roger Goodell has been the commissioner of the NFL, on 2 different occasions, the NFL Players Association and NFL players have reached out to the former commissioner to seek his help to try and go and talk to Roger Goodell for them. On 2 different occasions. Was it 2011 during the lockout? Then again in 2014? Because they didn't feel that Roger Goodell was doing his job. Now, if that doesn't tell you all you need to know about Goodell, then I don't know what does. My last segment, I compared Goodell to Silver. What do you think an approval rating for each one of those guys is? Roger Goodell is the same guy that handed out a $7,500 fine to Chad Johnson for giving the ref $1 as if he was bribing him, right? It was funny. He gave the ref $1 during one of the challenge plays. And that same week, a Chicago Bear player knocked somebody's ever-living block off, obviously on purpose, and only got a $6,500 fine. You tell me what was worse. Come on. Roger Goodell is a huge reason why the NFL is in the state that it's in. He punishes people that don't need to get punished. He lets people slide that should be punished. Everything that he does just makes no sense to anybody. Allegedly, Jerry Jones has been trying to stop him from getting a contract extension. Once again, things that tell you all you need to know about him. Are any of us perfect in this world? Absolutely not. Do we all make mistakes? Absolutely so. Do I expect Roger Goodell to always be perfect and do everything that we want? No. But getting booed every single time you step onto a podium during the NFL draft, that's saying something. I am not going to completely disavow the idea that some of the boycotts that people have been talking about with the NFL are real. Because it is a very good possibility, and I believe that it is a part of it. But when you get a piece of pizza, there's a lot of slices in that pizza, and there's always that one really big slice. I think Roger Goodell is the big slice, and everything else is the regular slice. And then you've even got that one that's really tiny, right? When the guy doesn't know how to cut the pie right, there's always that one slice in there. But I think that there's a lot of reasons. This is the Full Court Press. I am your host, Drew Duncan. You guys are checking me out live from the K-Sun Studios in Wichita, Kansas. I am on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at Drew Duncan 83. Don't forget you listen all day, every day at ksunradio.org. That's ksunradio.org. We're going to take a quick sponsor break. When we come back on the flip side, Big 12 football, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech. Later on, we're going to be talking Virginia Tech and Clemson. We'll be back right after this. Don't you dare touch that dial.